How's it going, everybody? It is Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL stream, and it's Game Week 8 deadline time, the last game week before the second international break, with the next one being in March, and then we'll just have a whole bunch of football in between, so I'm kind of happy about that. International breaks are kind of a bit boring. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be a good game week for some of us. The big boys, Manchester City versus Liverpool, going to be going head-to-head this week as a potential title decider very early on in the season. And we're going to talk about a bunch of other things as well. So I put a poll up over on YouTube. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go vote on that. But I got a screenshot of it just before we went live here to see what forward I should bring in for Danny Ings. So there's going to be a discussion around that. I have the goals imminent table to look at as we normally, take a peek at. The season ticker all the way up until the end of the Christmas period. Because basically after this game week, we're going to be looking at from then on out. And then if you can get players in that have good fixtures all the way through, like Aston Villa, like Newcastle, like Man City, then they might serve you quite well. Also, we're going to look at the fixtures again, as well as some other tables that I have for just some stats on some premium strikers and that sort of stuff. Premium strikers, mid-price strikers, lower price strikers, the ones that are basically in form, and who I should potentially bring in to kind of back up what you guys have been voting for. I had 5 that I put on the actual vote list, and there is a clear favorite. Mr. Thunder says, "How are you doing today?" I'm doing great, boss. How are you doing as well? Hopefully you're getting your team in order nice and early. Also, speaking of this being early, this is going to be the last stream like this because the next few deadlines are going to be back on Saturdays. So we'll be back to using the old headset mic, which, some people like, some people didn't, but it's fine. At least we got to do the kind of the deadline stuff, the panic, the hour before the deadline. So it'll be back to normal on the next game week. So not this week. And not this weekend coming, not next weekend, the weekend after the international break. And then during the Christmas period stuff, we'll figure some stuff out, because basically it's just going to be streams for the most part. It's going to be hardly any videos at all. It's just going to mostly be streams, because I believe there's games on Boxing Day and then there's games on the 28th. So it's going to be like all the games on Boxing Day, stream on the 27th, all the games on the 28th, stream on the 29th. It's going to be hectic, so yeah. It should be quite interesting. Maybe I'll do a deadline stream for those days. I believe the 28th is actually going to be a holiday because if you celebrate Boxing Day, like I do, as well as the UK, then you get the Monday off, because Christmas is on the Friday, and then you have the 26th, which is Boxing Day, which the holiday will then be on the 28th. So might have a deadline stream for that day as well. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But now, our focus is going to be on Game Week 28. So, let's see how the team is currently set up. So, this is the team as it's set up. Mr. Thunder, couldn't get my words out there. Panic brought in Pulisic for James. I assume that's James Rodriguez. And also got Werner for Jimenez. Now I'm wondering if I should bench Pulisic for Basuma or just take a hit for Zaha. Is Pulisic out then, by any chance? I haven't seen what Frank Lampard said, apart from the fact that he was talking about Timo Werner doing well. So I'm not sure. But unfortunately, early transfers can burn people. But I'm waiting for the press conferences, almost certainly, for this game week. The main ones being tomorrow. So I might make a transfer on the stream. We'll have to see. But Ings will definitely be going. It's just a matter of if other players are going to potentially be going as well. Ideally, I would like just to be Ings being the transfer, but we'll see. So that's how the team currently lines up. Have the captaincy on Son. That might change depending on who we potentially bring in, or if we favor Kane over Son. But I'm 99.9% sure that it's going to be Son or Kane, with me favoring Son, who got a little bit more rest tonight. He only played for 30 minutes, whereas Kane played a full half. They got substituted off, so we'll have to see how that goes. And I think he's just going to be, uh, you know, getting, hopefully getting back on the score sheet going into this game versus West Brom. But let's kind of take a look at the fixtures here. Oh, I forgot about this, that they put this back for the team news here. So it says match preview Yakanbash, and that's how you pronounce it, for Brighton. Dyche expects thumbs up from Ben Mee. Saints suffer injury blow. All this good stuff. Early team news for Everton versus United. I guess it's United team news. So yeah, quite interesting. So let's see how the games kind of run. There's actually 2 games actually. So that means the deadline is, yeah, midday my time, which is 11 a.m. EST. So if you're in the UK, that's going to be 4 p.m., I want to say. Rodriguez, yeah, my bad. Pulisic is flagged. I guess I should have waited to see what Lampard said. Well, he's flagged potentially from last week, but he might be ready for this week. I know he wasn't playing in the Champions League, but that just may have been a, kind of a scheduling thing that they wanted to do, and that he was going to be back in contention for the weekend. But, well, again, we'll have to see. Because there may have been little tidbits that come out of Lampard's Champions League press conference. But he may also have some other stuff that comes out tomorrow as well. That, some press conferences get embargoed. So basically what they do, so like Mourinho tonight, since he plays on Thursday, he won't do another press conference for the West Brom. They'll do a press conference for the end of the game. I can't even remember who they played. In Europa League. He'll talk about that, and then they'll say, okay, that's it for this press conference. They'll take a couple-minute break, and then they'll set up for his Premier League fixture. And what they'll do with that is they'll take that section of the recording or the video, and they'll basically post it at a later date. Basically, that's what they'll do. So it'll be interesting to see what he says. But some early stuff coming out from other managers as well. So like Bielsa's had a press conference today. Sean Dyche came out and said some things. Hasenhüttl confirmed that Danny Ings is out for 4 to 6 weeks, and he's been rightfully flagged in FPL. But yeah, looking at the fixtures, so the first one is Brighton versus Burnley. So we will have Lamptey going in that. Hopefully Burnley is still awful. And we get a nice 1-0, another Lamptey goal with a clean sheet. That'd be nice. But knowing Burnley, they'll probably score. Southampton, we were going to have Ings in that. But again, he was he's been ruled out, so it's been unfortunate. So we just have McCarthy. We may have Callum Wilson, who was one of the players that I had on the poll list, which we'll take a look in at a second. And then on the Saturday, first thing, we have Everton versus United. That should be an interesting clash. Potentially, Solskjaer, his job is in jeopardy. You would think that if it was another loss or a big loss, he could potentially be under the cosh there. And with the international break, may give time for somebody to potentially, come in and take over. But again, that's just speculation. The club says they're backing him. We'll just have to see on that, because the transfer window certainly didn't suggest that. Crystal Palace versus Leeds, that should be a one-way traffic for Leeds. Same with Chelsea versus Sheffield United. And then West Ham versus Fulham is all going to depend on if Antonio is fit. That's another reason why I'm waiting for the press conferences, because I might bring in... I didn't put Antonio in the poll because he's tentatively injured, but we'll have to see. Because I think that he has good fixtures, but I also think, Werner could look good. Jesus, I could potentially bring in, but again... He's somebody maybe after the Liverpool and Spurs fixture. Martial could be next week. Bamford is good in away fixture, so could be some different things there. Yeah. Then on the Sunday, West Brom Spurs, Leicester versus Wolves, the big one, Man City versus Liverpool, and then Arsenal versus Villa. That could be a closer game than people think as well, so we'll have to see on that one. But yeah, so this is the team. I'll leave that up on the screen. But let me bring across the poll that I put out for the captaincy. So this was the screenshot of the poll that I took and put out. Diego, so I said, now that Danny Ings is confirmed to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, let me know who I should bring in. So 38%, so that's a, 4 out of 10 people said I should bring in Werner. Then Callum Wilson was next. Jesus was third. Martial was fourth. So Martial was higher than Bamford, even though he is playing Everton, or will be playing Everton this week. But he could be playing. He will be starting, I would assume, against West Brom the following week. So looks to be that Werner is the one that you guys chose in the poll. They're very interesting because he was one of, like, I'm looking at him and Callum Wilson potentially, just fixture wise. So we can actually just take a look at that briefly. I will need to go to the transfer page really quickly. I'd be split between Werner and Wilson. Yeah, that's what I figured most people might go for. So if you look at Chelsea's fixtures overall, in terms of just an attacking sense, we'll look at it in the season ticker as well. But so Sheffield United at home could be quite easy. Newcastle away could be good. Spurs defense isn't great. Leeds defense, I mean, they conceded 4 to a Leicester team. Everton's defense with Pickford in goal, anything's possible. Wolves is probably somewhat tricky. West Ham, they've been quite solid defensively, but with the cramped fixtures in December, could be a bit different. Arsenal, Chelsea always seem to do. It's a bit of a mixed bag there between them and Arsenal. Sometimes it's one way or the other way. So it could be interesting, but I think Chelsea might have too much for them. Villa have shown that they haven't been great defensively, but then it gets a little bit sticky with City and Leicester after the new year. But it might be worth just keeping Chelsea assets all the way through up until pretty much around like mid-February or so. Then take them out for the United, Everton, Leeds, Liverpool, and then bring them back in for this section here. So could be quite interesting. Callum Wilson, his fixtures look great in terms of attacking output. So Southampton away could be a little bit tricky, but should be able to do well in that. Chelsea at home, it is a home fixture, and Newcastle have shown that they can get some results here and there, and he just seems to be doing well for himself. But Chelsea's defense, they haven't conceded in a fair few games. Crystal Palace, they can score against. Same with Aston Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham. I expect them to at least score once against all of those teams. And then it's just a bit rough for the Man City fixture. But this after that game, when they go to play Liverpool, that would be when I use my wild card to set up for the post New Year stuff. So yeah. Both looking quite good. Where's Bamford? We'll take a look at him. So Bamford, we're looking at the away fixtures here because that's where he seems to be doing the most damage. So Crystal Palace looks great. Arsenal at home. I expect Leeds stylistically to give Arsenal a bit of trouble. Everton could be quite easy. Chelsea away could be a bit tricky. West Ham at home. Okay. Newcastle should be fine. I think they'll give United trouble, even though on paper this is an FDR rating of 4. Burnley should be fine. West Brom, Spurs, Southampton, Brighton, Newcastle, they should all be able to score at least one in those games the way they attack. So should be fine overall. Let me bring up where is United. So there's Fernandez. So United would be West Brom at home is good. Southampton's not great because they usually struggle, but typically we do score versus Southampton. West Ham always struggles. City, we typically can beat them. Sheffield United should be fine. Leeds could be a bit tricky. Leicester, so it's a bit of a mixed bag, but the West Brom at home one is normally would be good, but again, United's home form hasn't been great at all. And then I need to find a Manchester City player. So obviously game week 10 onwards, like from then until the 2nd of February looks just free sailing basically. So you got Burnley, Fulham, United away should still be able to score. West Brom, Southampton, Newcastle, Everton, Chelsea away could be a bit tricky. Brighton, Crystal Palace, West Brom, Sheffield United, Burnley. Those all look like very, very nice fixtures. I mean, all these FDR rating of 2s, if you have De Bruyne and Sterling as an example on the double up, like just whatever the home fixture is, pick De Bruyne. Whatever the away fixture is, just pick Sterling. Like it's going to be quite easy to do that. I would think if you have that double up. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. And we want to basically have ourselves set up to whereas we can have a situation where we're able to bring in Manchester City assets. We don't want to be floundering and having to take hits to get rid of other players. We want to be able to make nice, clean transfers. At most, a hit for some City assets going into game week 10. I really wanted to hold my transfer going into the international break and then use one at at the most for game week 9, but again, my hand's been forced a bit here with Danny Ings being out, and I can't rely on, Burke not playing or Mitchell not playing and Kilman potentially not playing, even though he has started the last few. So, yeah, it'd be a bit of a struggle. Bit of a struggle there. So, let's actually take a look at the season ticker. So I'm going to bring this across here if I can. Center that a little bit. Okay, so this is the season ticker here. This is on the Fantasy Football Scout members area. If you haven't done so, make sure to go over there and subscribe to it. It is fantastic. It is a great resource. Let me actually change this game week so it's game week 9 onwards. Because game week 8 we've already looked at the fixtures. But this is basically the period that we're kind of looking at. So 9 through 15 is the remaining fixtures after this game week for teams that will be at the top for attack. So it's sorted by the best possible fixtures for the teams based on the ratings that they give, the preset ratings for attacking output. So right at the top, Man City and Liverpool are up there. So potentially a City double up or a Liverpool double up. But if you look at fixture by fixture, the only real ones that could potentially pose a threat to City would be Spurs away, because Mourinho's stylistically could pose a bit of threat, which is why we're going to keep our Spurs assets most likely in game week 9. And then Man United away as well could potentially be. Maybe Man United has their stuff together by then. Maybe they have a different manager. Who knows? But Burnley at home, Fulham at home, West Brom at home, Newcastle at home. A lot of great home fixtures. And then Southampton away. Shouldn't be too much trouble. I think that'll be the week that Danny Ings comes back, if I'm not mistaken. So it'd be a bit interesting to see kind of how he comes back in the team if he's fully fit by then. But yeah, Liverpool as well. Leicester at home could be tricky in game week 9, but again, we'll have to see what the international break brings. Brighton should be fine. Wolves could pose a threat because they're playing, decently well now. Fulham should be fine. Spurs should be okay. Crystal Palace should be fine. West Brom should be fine. And then Aston Villa is up there, so a lot of people have Jack Grealish. I don't personally, but their fixtures are great. They don't play any of the big teams. I mean, I guess you can call Wolves like one of the top 8 teams-ish. They play them away, but everyone else, Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, Burnley, West Brom, Crystal Palace, all fantastic fixtures. Newcastle again, so after the Chelsea fixture, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham, Man City, all teams that have either struggled against Newcastle in the past, in terms of City, or teams that should be quite easy for Newcastle to score at least one against, at least the way the form Callum Wilson is in, and with him and Fraser linking up, that could prove to be quite good. I mean, it just seems like basically every game St. Maximin's just on the floor holding his leg or his arm, or, he just seems to be all over the shop. So I think Fraser being that more consistent could potentially provide, more value for Wilson in a FPL sense, just creating more chances for him. And then if we look at the bottom for attack, Spurs' fixtures from game week 9 onwards are just super rough. City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Leicester, Wolves in those fixtures, with any Crystal Palace sandwiched in between those. That is a rough set of fixtures. West Brom and Fulham, they're going to be targeted. I mean, if we look at West Brom, Man United, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace is okay. Newcastle's, Man City, Aston Villa, Liverpool, that's not great. Wolves is down there too. Southampton, Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Burnley, Spurs. Again, a few of the bigger teams in there. Chelsea's fixtures from an attacking sense aren't necessarily good in terms of the ticker, but in terms of the way that they would, kind of action themselves versus these teams, it can prove to be quite good for Chelsea. So Chelsea have shown that they could pick Burnley apart, and I think Newcastle is no exception to that. Spurs at home should be quite comfortable. Spurs' defense is by no means that good. Leeds like to attack, which Chelsea can then counter with the likes of Werner, Ziyech, and Pulisic, and these sorts of players, assuming that they're fit. Everton's defense isn't very good. Wolves is probably the trickiest one out of all of that. West Ham and Arsenal, they should be beating with the players that they have. United's like up there, so like the West Brom fixture is what people might be looking at. West Ham's in there with a few decent fixtures. So Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Brighton are among the fixtures in there. But I know a lot of people were looking at Antonio for the Game Week 8 fixture where he plays Fulham, which could be a potential captaincy choice as well. I didn't have him in my captaincy video, and that was because of the fact that he could be injured. So we'll have to see kind of how he goes along for that. In terms of defense, Aston Villa, City, Liverpool are up the top. The only real defense that I will eventually trust to get it together is probably Liverpool, personally. And the reason for that is because people will say, me included, will say that they have a makeshift backline. But when you actually look at it on paper, Robertson's their starting left back, Trent's their starting right back, and Gomez is one of their starting center backs normally when everyone's fully fit. And Alisson's their starting goalkeeper. The only one they're missing is Van Dijk. Yes, he's a big miss. He's arguably the best center back in the world, one of the best leaders in the world, one of the best, the most manly football men that you can think of in the world. That leads from the back, is one of the basically like the captains without the armband type of thing, and he will be a big miss. But from a defensive standpoint, like Brighton, they only scored one versus West Brom. Wolves don't tend to score very many. Fulham aren't great. Spurs are going to sit back and let Liverpool do what they want. Crystal Palace don't score many. West Brom, again, they couldn't score any versus Fulham. So it's a bit all over the place. But you would think they keep clean sheets. But again, the way they've started, it hasn't looked great. But again, when they had, what was it, like 21 clean sheets or whatever it was a couple seasons ago, they didn't start off good, and then they did like a run of like 12 or 13 or something in a row, or like in like a very, very small space of time. So it was like 12 clean sheets, it was like 14 game weeks or something, which is pretty crazy. Aston Villa's clean sheets look to be quite good, but then if you look down the bottom, Wolves, like I said, Wolves clean sheets, Chelsea, Burnley, Wolves and Burnley being down there isn't great for them because they're teams that they're typically picked up for their defensive assets. So it's going to be a bit interesting to kind of see. So going to be needing to bring in fullbacks or wingbacks or defenders that look to be getting attacking returns. So we'll have to be on the lookout for any emerging ones there if any defenses get their acts together. Let's take a look at the goals a minute table. So this is something that we take a look at every deadline day, and sometimes we do it on the preview. But today we're looking at all the players that are for Jaunty. If you watch the Scoutcast, he's the guy who runs it. This is public table that you can get on the Fantasy Football Scout members area, and this shows the players that are most likely to score in the next game week based on their number of goal attempts, their shots inside the box, the big chances that they've had, and how many they've missed. So if you look at it, Mitrovic is on there, got himself 8 points last game week. Mopé is on there, but mind you, his place could be in jeopardy. Mahrez is on there with a lot of goal attempts. Bukayo Saka, I think is how you pronounce his name, from Arsenal, he's on there. Rodrigo's not going to score this week because he tested positive, so he has to self-isolate. Rashford's on there. Lookman is on there as well. So if you're looking at bringing in potential United asset, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a bit under the cosh, or some people might think, and the fan base may be turning on him, you may want to bring in a United asset so that they can this might be the game where it looks like the chips are down for him, and then all of a sudden United get a fantastic result against a really good side, and then things are rosy again. So, and Rashford's probably going to be the one to do it because he's one of the members that they break with or hit people on the break with pace. Actually, let's take a look at this first table here. So the first table I have here, I'm going to move it up just a little bit. So we can see here, these are the Manchester City assets for my XGI and attacking output table that I made as well. So you should be able to view this one. I think it's the viewable one that I have. And basically, it's the number of big chances created, chances total, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sorting it right now by the number of shots inside the box. So if you look at the players, this is in the last, this is in all the game weeks that we've had thus far. So a bigger sample size. Sterling has the most shots inside the box, but has one less shot than Mahrez and De Bruyne overall. De Bruyne gets far less shots inside the box, but his shots are more often on target when he does take them. Foden has a similar amount of shots inside the box as well. In terms of chances created, obviously De Bruyne tops that with Mahrez and Sterling next, and then Foden right down. And then you have big chances total. Foden is actually the highest with 3. De Bruyne has 2. Sterling has 2, which is quite interesting. And then chances, big chances created. De Bruyne with 2, Sterling with 2, Mahrez with 1, and Phil Foden with 0. So with De Bruyne and Sterling, I think that double up could be very good from game week 10 onwards. And basically, you'll just be taking Kane and Son out and just putting these two guys in, because Spurs have a pretty rough time of it from game week 10 to game week 15 or so. And basically, you just have the captaincy on De Bruyne at home because he seems to perform better at home. And then Sterling away, or just whoever's on form. And I think that double up is going to be kind of how Kane and Son, assuming City gets back to their very, very best, could be how essential like Son and Kane are in terms of like their overall percentage ownership. It could be quite massive. I put Mahrez on here just because he's been like the next one in line, as it were. But with Jesus potentially back, he might see some potential rotation with the likes of Ferran Torres, who's been doing quite well. I don't expect Jesus to start, but I do expect him to be involved versus Liverpool. But you never know. Pep tends to bed players slowly into the lineup, and especially what he's seen with Aguero getting re-injured, he may take it slow with Jesus and only use him when necessary. I still want Foden. I combined his first and his last name together. Phil Foden to get his starting position nailed down in that left-sided, in central can't get my words out today. Central midfield. So you have Phil Foden one side, De Bruyne the other side, and you have like Roger or Fernandinho, whoever the holding player is for that particular game week. And then we'll see a lot more things like how Phil Foden scored his goal versus West Ham, where he's popping up inside the box and getting a shot off with very little touches. But I think that he'll go with Gundogan and Rodri this week with De Bruyne just in front and play it a bit safe, because Liverpool have burnt City in the past. So that's a look at the City assets, and in terms of the XGI and attacking output for the forwards that I put in the poll. We have Bamford, Callum Wilson, Timo Werner. I put Antonio in there, and then Martial's in there, but he's not going to have very many stats. But again, shots inside the box. Bamford has 24 shots inside the box, which is quite high. And the next lowest is Antonio, Werner, and Wilson, who are on 15. So they're a lot lower, but again, is Antonio going to be fit? We'll have to wait and see whether that is going to be the case. So, because if he is fit and he's at 6.2 million, which is so cheap for Antonio, he could be absolutely devastating, especially versus a Fulham team that's so bad. Like a lot of people who brought him in for the Norwich game where he scored 4, it was just an absolute, masterclass there, where he just single-handedly just went and just blitzed the living crap out of the team. So yeah, it could be could be quite interesting there overall. But again, Werner's stats are showing to be quite good. 50% on the shot accuracy, much like Antonio. Wilson not far behind. They're all pretty, relatively close on stats. But if you look at like expected goal involvement, Callum Wilson is way up there with the same amount of shots inside the box, and shots on target. So basically, when Callum Wilson gets into a chance where he can shoot, he scores, which is good. And also Wilson is 100% on penalties, assuming he's on the pitch. Werner, however, did take 2 penalties in the Champions League game when Abraham and Jorginho were on the field in midweek when they played Rennes, I think it's who they played. And he took both penalties, so maybe he's taking penalties from now on, which makes me a bit more enticed into picking him up, especially that he's I kind of tried to back him, considering I know how good he can be. In the Bundesliga, he did take penalties for Leipzig, from what I remember. And I thought that long term it would either be him or Havertz, but again, Havertz tested positive, so he's going to be isolating as well. So, if Antonio is fit, should I make the switch from my Ollie Watkins? I have faith in Watkins too. Yeah, it's a bit. Maybe next game week. But who does Aston Villa have this week? Is it Arsenal? I think it's Arsenal. Don't need this table up anymore. It should be. I think it's Arsenal that they have this game week. Yeah, they do have Arsenal, so Arsenal are going to be quite defensive. But I mean, Watkins. Watkins has penalties, so that's something that we confirmed from last game week, which was interesting to see. Jack Grealish and Ross Barkley were both on the pitch, and Ollie Watkins took the penalty, even though all 3 of them don't have very good what's the term for it? Records? Is it records? Past history? I don't know. Basically, when they've taken penalties in the past, they've missed a few of them. So, yeah. Hey, Neep, how's it going? Forgot about the penalties. Yeah, it's quite interesting, because a lot of people thought it was going to be Ross Barkley, who was going to be taking the penalties, but it turned out that it was Watkins, because all 3 of them were on the pitch. Jack Grealish got fouled. He had the ball in his hand. He literally went over to Watkins and gave him the ball. So, we'll see. If Jack Grealish is going to get taken down for penalties and Watkins, scoring, could be a potential double up on the cards as well. So, but I think Aston Villa isn't as good as what people think they are, personally. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past on some things, so we shall see. I've been reluctant to get Jack Grealish. But it could be an easy switch from James Rodriguez when his fixtures go a bit stale from game week 12 onwards. But yeah. What else? I wanted. Oh, that's what I wanted to check. I wanted to check the price rises and falls potentially for tonight. So it looks like Timo Werner, Callum Wilson, Zuma, Ziyech, and Vardy could all be going up tonight. Calvert-Lewin is close-ish. Not really, but he's close-ish. So Werner, Wilson, Zuma, Ziyech, Vardy could potentially be going up tonight. People going down of note. Anyone who has Marcel, maybe. Pereira from West Brom, maybe. Reed from Fulham. Anyone who has Gordon from Everton. I know some of these are like bench enablers. Aspilicueta and Charlie Taylor, I believe this is, from Burnley. Could all be going down tonight. So, I missed last stream and I thought the deadline was on Saturday, usual time. No, because it is on Friday. this week. It has been for the last 2 weeks. But next week, or not next week, but next game week, so there's international break. The Game Week 9 game week, the deadline will be on Saturday. It will be on Saturday as per normal, so let me actually check that exact time. So it should be... So yeah. So when we usually do the deadline streams, when we're doing them before on the Saturday, so 5 a.m. EST, that's when we're going to be doing them again for this game week. So that's the 21st of November, because all the fixtures are back on a Saturday or Sunday. Whereas this week, there's 2 games on Friday. I don't know why they just randomly did it. I know for the start of the season, they usually do it sometimes, but yeah, we'll see. Chelsea strong on defense. Yeah, we'll definitely see. I mean, versus Sheffield United and Newcastle, they might not really be tested, but Spurs could prove a problem. Leeds could prove a problem. We'll have to see. A lot of people jumping on the Chilwell bandwagon. And they look to be, having a right footer and a left footer on either flank with a deadly crossing ability. And with Ziyech added in that mix, you just never know what type of delivery you could potentially be facing as a defender, which could cause a lot of problems. So... yeah, so now let's take a look at what I could potentially do transfer-wise. So we talked about the poll, and a lot of people had Werner as the replacement that I should go with. So if I were to bring in Werner, I'm going to hypothetically say that either him or Wilson, just because they're scheduled to potentially go up in price, and we'll go into the assumption that I don't bring them until tomorrow, that they're going to be 0.1 more expensive. So right now, instead of having 1.1 million in the bank, I'm going to say we have 1 million in the bank. So if I bring in Werner, it leaves 1.1 million. Then I would keep, most likely, the Spurs players for this match versus City. The only person that I might potentially take out would be maybe Kane, but that would just be for like a 1 week type of thing for like Martial or somebody like that. But if I brought in Werner, I wouldn't need to do that, because basically in game week 9, so if we look at that captaincy wise, the real notable captaincy choices could be Chelsea versus Newcastle, Everton versus Fulham, Liverpool versus Leicester is a bit tricky. I kind of lump Leicester up in like the teams that you don't want to necessarily go against, even though Leicester are a bit up and down. United looks very good versus West Brom on paper. Spurs and City, when when the top 6 teams clash, you never know what you're gonna get. So yeah, the kind of the banker ones is gonna be like Everton and Chelsea. So if I have Werner, then I can just captain versus Newcastle, or I can captain Calvert-Lewin versus Everton. That could be quite easy. Or if I'm really ballsy, I can go and captain Son or Kane versus City. So yeah, if we brought in Werner, we'll say that we have 1 million. And then basically what we want to do after that is we definitely want, if we got rid of, let's say, Son and Podence and Kane, and we brought in Sterling and De Bruyne, we would have 3.7 million. So that's not going to work if we wanted both of them. So if we had just the one and we had Son, we'd be 0.2 off of a striker that would be basically useful. We would go into the game week 10 with 2 free transfers. So it'd be a -8 if we had to do like Burke to somebody else. So what it would have to be, if we wanted to do something like that, we can go De Bruyne, I was thinking about Mahrez, and then we'd have 7 million to play with up front. So by that time, we lost 0.1 or 0.2 somewhere, and then we'd still be fine to bring in Wilson, who in game week 10 onwards, his fixtures are Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham, and then we'd have to just deal with him for Man City, in game week 15. So that's one plan. Another alternative, if we don't have the money, we can go for Foden here as an example. Yes, he's more rotated, but again, City's going to get rotated regardless coming into the Christmas period. I wouldn't even be surprised De Bruyne gets rotated. Vardy is another one. I forgot to even put him on the list. I knew I was forgetting somebody. So let's actually take a look at that. So Leicester's fixtures, I believe, are good from 10 onwards. Is it 10 onwards? When do they play Fulham? Yeah, so it's 10. It's game week 10 to... Where's Vardy? Vardy. Maximum number of forwards. So, yeah, so basically 10, 11, 12, 13. And then Spurs and United are probably okay for him because he does play well versus the top teams. But Fulham at home, Brighton at home, those could be very good, and he is quite low. And so if we brought in Vardy, let's say by the time we got him in, we lost 0.1. So let's say we have 0.3 remaining. In game week, so we would bring him in game week. We'd bring him in game week 10, so he'd be part of our plan. So he would be for Kane. So it'd be a matter of who we brought in this week. So we could still bring in Wilson as an example, and he plays Southampton and Chelsea in that time, or we can bring in Werner. Let me actually do it this way. So restore Kane, bring in, so we still bring in Werner this week, and then in game week 10 it would be Kane out for Vardy. The only problem would be is that if we got rid of Son, we're still a bit short in terms of getting De Bruyne or Sterling, unless we downgraded something elsewhere, which, not the end of the world. We could definitely do that. We can get rid of Podence for somebody else. What are the West Ham midfielders looking like? Because they would still have, decent fixtures then. We could bring him in for Souček, who's 4'9". That's the only real one there, actually. And he would have Aston Villa, United, Leeds, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Brighton. Not great, but definitely doable. Robertson from game week 10 has some decent games. Fulham away could be, not too bad. Then Spurs, Crystal Palace, West Brom. Those all look decent, so we'll have to see on that front. But yeah, Vardy would potentially be nice. But if we went with Wilson this week, then it opens up a lot of different avenues. So if we brought in Wilson this week, and then we did no transfers in game week 9, then we went into game week 10 with 2 free transfers. We can go Kane to Vardy, Son to De Bruyne or Sterling. I'll just pick De Bruyne. And then we have 2.6 left to actually mess around with. So we can even go to like a Grealish or somebody like that. We can get Foden in. There's a bunch of different things we can actually do. So that line actually plays out quite well. If we got in Bamford in this week instead, Mahrez could potentially be on the cards by the time it comes around. So yeah, I like that line potentially, because Vardy would not be somebody who's going to be looked at. Everyone's going to be looking at City, 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 which again, Ings out for. Let's say we did go with, again Wilson this week, and then in game week 10, Kane to Jesus. Let's say Aguero's still out, then I can go from Son to any City mid. Let's say it's again De Bruyne. Then I got 3.3 million, so I can get Podence out, and I could bring in whatever mid-price midfielder that I want, basically. If we kept Podence, and this was Werner, so this strat could still work. We would just be a bit tighter on cash, and it wouldn't require a hit either, which would be interesting. So game week 10, just Jesus and De Bruyne in for Son and Kane, so straight Spurs for City swap. And then we still have 0.5 to, potentially upgrade Burke on our bench if we wanted to. We could potentially upgrade Podence to somebody at like the 6 million mark. But Podence is starting, and he has okay-ish fixtures attacking-wise. So like Leicester, they can still get an attacking return, same as Southampton, but I just don't trust them overall. We'll see how he gets on this week. But in game week 10, I kind of want to, get rid of him for somebody. If I can get an extra, 1 million or so for him to Foden, I'll definitely do it. Or maybe up to Grealish. We'll have to see. Oh, I almost hit make transfers. It's a good thing they put that notification there. But yeah. So yeah, if this was Wilson or something like that, we could definitely get somebody in instead of Podence. So I'm trying to think if there's a line of play where basically I can get somebody in good for this week, who's going to be good until basically game week 15, and still be able to get City and potentially change Podence for somebody. So it's going to be a bit interesting. Zuma or Chilwell a good pick for defense? I think so for the next few. So Chelsea have Sheffield United and Newcastle, so those are probably clean sheets there. Maybe some attacking returns versus Spurs, but that's two, big six teams. No, can't really trust that there. Leeds could probably not a clean sheet, to be honest. Everton could do some damage. Wolves could be a clean sheet. Lamptey, will he be able to play? I'm not sure. That's why I'm waiting for the press conferences to see what's going on. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards not making a transfer, just to be 100% sure. Just, because if I waste this transfer, then I'm just going to be taking more unnecessary points. Whereas I can just get all the information that I need. Because again, Havertz tested positive and Rodrigo tested positive. If I bring in Werner and he tested positive or something like that, then he could, be a waste of a transfer. Ayling plays on the same team as Rodrigo, so we'll see. Zuma's good at attacking. Yeah, on set pieces, it's just when he has the ball at his feet, he just looks like he's scared out of his absolute mind. So yeah, could be a bit of a struggle in that regard for him. But yeah, for attacking wise, should be fine. And I think it was like there was some stat going around that Sheffield United has conceded the most shots from set pieces or something like that, which bodes well for Zuma. So, and he is also potentially going up in price tonight as well. So, I think the most likely outcome for me, but I just want to make sure that everything's fine, is going to be Werner in for Ings. And then go for De Bruyne plus somebody else, and then worry about the money later. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Because Wilson, I don't really want him to go up against Southampton because I have a goalkeeper Southampton. Then he plays Chelsea, so not really guaranteed there, but it's the fixtures after that that are good, so I don't need him till game week 10. And even if I do get rid of, Werner after 2 fixtures, I could easily do that if Kane's just going absolutely ballistic and they just destroy, City or something like that, then I could definitely, reassess. But I think Werner for the next 2 weeks should be fine. And he's also a potential captaincy choice for Game Week 9. Because Game Week 9, do I really want to captain Salah at home to Leicester? I mean, it's definitely, possible. But Leicester have been looking quite good. Newcastle are terrible. And Fulham are terrible. So those could be nice returns for Calvert-Lewin and Werner there as well. So... And City plays Spurs, so again, not going to captain anyone there. United West Brom would probably be, in theory, the best potential on paper, chance to get a big hole. But again, United, when they play West Brom, Wolves, or West Ham, they're always, not great from what I've seen in the past. So, not ideal. But I think that's the most likely outcome. Is probably going to be Timo Werner in for Ings this week. Just because I don't need... I could go with a punt and go with somebody like Martial. Who actually, there was an interesting line of play that I could do with Martial. So if I restore Kane, I brought in Martial. Restore Son. There was a play where I could do Kane. I think it was a Kane, Son, Podence. I think that was the play. So it was like De Bruyne. Yeah, it was like De Bruyne, Mahrez, and then like one of the, like the Wilsons or something like that in. Or no, that's what it was. It was I could keep Son. I could bring in De Bruyne, and then I could still have 6.5 million to bring in for a forward. So assuming Callum Wilson doesn't go up anymore, which he probably will, or Bamford doesn't go up anymore, or go past 6.5, then I can do all of those and still keep Son. And then I basically have, players from pretty much a lot of the bigger teams. Grealish can also be good. Yep, exactly. So I could always, let's say, let's reset here. So if I wanted to go from Ings to Werner, and then I had Kane, and then in game week 10, I can make 4 changes out. I can do Grealish, De Bruyne, Foden, and then go with Brewster, and then just run 3-5-2. That's an option as well, and it's all enabled by Werner as well. But like if Kane bangs, then I have to have a plan for what happens when he does well. So if I bring in Werner, 2 game weeks, let's say he does good for me, and then he plays Spurs, Leeds, Everton, Wolves, which aren't as good but still could potentially score. I can then get rid of him. Not Podence. Well, I can get rid of him, Podence, and Son. And I can bring in De Bruyne. I can bring in Grealish or some mid-price midfielder, and then get in Bamford or somebody like that. That's still an option. And then if I want to increase my City assets, or if I can't get Grealish, then I can get at the time, because Leicester will have good fixtures. I can bring in Harvey Barnes as another one who, you know, hasn't been as good as Grealish, and those that have picked Harvey Barnes over Grealish, it's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, there's many different ways to slice it. But I think I'm definitely going to hold my transfer. I said I would potentially do a transfer tonight, but I think I'm definitely going to hold. As long as Ings isn't going down, which I don't... Well, it doesn't matter to me, but... yeah, Ings is still a bit far away. But if I find news that, like, the player that, like, Werner or somebody like that is definitely fine and they're going to play, then I'll hang on to them. Or I'll go get them. Yeah, like Vardy, Zuma, Ziyech, and Wilson and Werner are all scheduled to go up tonight. So, yeah. And then the players going down of note is Pereira from West Brom. Mitchell might go down from Crystal Palace, but he's been like that for a couple of days, so he should be okay. Reed from Fulham. Aspilicueta for those that have him. And then Charlie Taylor from Burnley. So again, could be a bit tricky, but yeah, I think we will leave it there. So we'll run through the lineup one more time, and then we'll do some little bit of a the last minute announcements and that sort of stuff at the very end here. So we have McCarthy in goal for the time being, Luke Ayling, Lamptey, Robertson, Son with the captaincy, James Rodriguez, Podence, Salah, Kane with the vice captaincy, Calvert-Lewin, and Ings, who will be transferred out at some point before the deadline tomorrow. Steer is our backup goalkeeper. Burke, Mitchell, and Kilman. That's the order on the bench that I'm going to go with. And the reason I put Mitchell over Kilman is just because he has a home fixture. That's pretty much it. So yeah, that is going to do it for this game week deadline-ish stream. So yeah, if you haven't done so already, make sure to follow us here on Twitch. This is where we do our preview and our deadline streams. They'll be back to normal when Game Week 9 comes around. So it's not going to be next week. It's going to be the week after, because it is an international break. And it's going to be back normal time like we had them before, which was I think it was a 5 a.m. EST. And we'll be back to the headset mic, because it's early o'clock and I don't want to wake people up. So that would be greatly appreciated if you could follow us and join us for those streams. Also, make sure to go over to YouTube, give that a subscribe. Make sure to like the videos that you are enjoying. Leave comments down below. We like to keep it interactive. And turn those notification bells on so that you can see the posts that I've been putting out, because I do post over on YouTube when we go live here on Twitch now, as well as I put polls every now and again. Like with Danny Ings being injured, I put a poll up there. Which quite a few of you voted on and thought that I should bring in Werner, and I think I might agree with you as well. So, and he gives us a captaincy option for Game Week 9 as well, where the captaincy options aren't as easy to pick from in that regard. So yeah. Also, Mr. Sunday says, good luck in the game week, my friend. You as well. Good luck to all of you. Just make sure to have your teams locked in. The deadline is... So it is midday my time, because it is a 5:30, if I get that right, 5:30 UK kickoff time. So midday my time, and I'm 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, just remember the deadline is 1.5 hours before the first kickoff. So scroll down and look at the time, and it should say for you where the fixtures are, which is quite nice. It shows it in your local time. So just make sure to check that. So it's like, for me, it's earlier than normal for a kickoff. Not sure why they did it, but hey, is what it is. Also, I would like to give a shout out to Issa Juhead, I think is how you pronounce that name. Thank you for following. They followed while we were offline, so much appreciated for that. And also, we're going to be doing, I'm kind of trying to think if it's going to be a stream or if it's going to be a video. But basically, I'm going to be replacing the gaming videos as well with a more of an FPL sort of related kind of piece of content that's going to be on Sundays. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the big game of the week. So this week is Liverpool versus Man City, and I'm going to try to see if I can break it down from how I saw the game play out. Which players may be, based on heat maps and stuff, were in a higher position than what we thought, and we can see what potential emerging FPL assets come from the big six, as it were. So if it's like United versus City, Spurs versus Chelsea, those sorts of marquee games, we'll try to pick from. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I got a few more hours left as well. Lol. Yeah, exactly. So people's going to be in different time zones. Just make sure to go down and just scroll down and just check the times because it shows your fixtures when they're being played in your local time. So just make sure to check that out. But yeah, deadline stream for Game Week 9 is not going to be next week Saturday. It's the following week Saturday because of the international break. But it'll be the last international break until March. So make sure to check us out there. Like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Also, I'm going to be having emotes after the international break, which is fantastic. And I'm also going to have my lighting setup all done, hopefully, by then, which we can do some more green screen stuff like we had before. So I can even show you how that works just briefly. So we have this this setup here where the music is a bit loud, but we can do all kinds of fun things like this with the green screen as well. So that's just going to be one of the things that we're able to do with a better lighting setup. So we'll go from there. Hey Mono, you just joined us as we were logging off here, and you made one change. Yeah, let us know what that is. I'm gonna be posting it up over in the posting the video over in the over on YouTube once I get off. Cresswell and Robbo out thinking of bank ahead of City players in the upcoming game weeks. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I wanted to have 2 transfers going into international break just in case, but looks like I'm going to have to take out Ings for somebody so that I don't have a blank on one of my players because my bench is a bit on the thinner side than normal, so we'll see. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All the links in the description. This is going to be out on YouTube in a bit. And until the next one, peace out.